When leaders hear Deming say most problems belong to the system, many translate it as an insult to their lived experience. Are you telling me nobody is lazy? Nobody incompetent? That reaction matters, because if we misunderstand what Deming is actually saying, we end up fighting the wrong enemy. Today, we're talking about why blaming workers feels obvious, why it's often wrong, and how that misunderstanding quietly drains performance across organizations. W. Edwards Deming never asked leaders to take anything on faith. He was deeply suspicious of belief without evidence. Yet, when his ideas collide with real pressure, missed commitments, chronic rework, long nights fixing yesterday's problems, they can sound naive. Many leaders hear an absolutist claim: workers are never the problem. But that's not what Deming taught. What he actually challenged was the reflex to explain results by pointing at people instead of studying the system that shapes their work. When the same problems repeat across teams and across individuals, Deming would argue we are not observing human failure. We are observing a system doing exactly what it was built and allowed to do. To see how this misunderstanding shows up in practice, let's step into a familiar manufacturing plant. Midwest Components makes precision parts for heavy equipment. Late orders have become routine. Scrap rates bounce week to week. Supervisors are worn down. At the center of it are two leaders: Jack, the plant manager who came up through operations, and Maria, the operations director brought in to steady performance.
I don't buy this idea that it's all the system. I've been here 20 years. I know when someone just doesn't care. You can see it.
Jack isn't lazy or cruel. He's under pressure. When a shipment is late, someone must have caused it. That assumption feels practical.
I'm not saying people don't matter. I'm asking a different question. If we swap operators between lines and the problems stay with the line, what are we really seeing?
They pull 6 months of data. Late orders spike every time the schedule compresses at month end. Scrap rises when a specific alloy lot is used. Training records show 3 operators rushed onto a new machine with minimal setup instruction.
So what, nobody's accountable?
Accountable, yes. Blamed, no. These patterns don't belong to one person. They belong to how we plan, supply, and train.
This is the pivot Deming insisted on. He wrote, "The supposition is prevalent the world over that there would be no problems in production or in service if only our production workers would do their jobs in the way that they were taught. Pleasant dreams. The workers are handicapped by the system, and the system belongs to management." That's not a moral claim, it's a diagnostic one.
Let's separate two things. First, are things running the way they usually do? If they are, blaming the worker for random ups and downs doesn't fix anything. Second, if something truly unusual happened, then we treat it as a special cause and deal with it directly.
They chart downtime and defects. Most variation sits inside predictable limits. One incident stands out. A machine was deliberately bypassed after a safety interlock failed.
That one is on the person.
Yes, and now we handle it clearly, without pretending it explains everything else.
Deming was explicit about this balance. I should estimate that in my experience, most troubles and most possibilities for improvement add up to proportions something like this. 94% belong to the system, responsibility of management. 6% special. That 6% matters. It includes negligence, misconduct, and genuine inability. But treating 94% as if it were 6 is expensive.
So every time I choose someone out for scrap that was basically baked into the process, I'm making it worse?
Usually, yes. You get fear, you get stories, you don't get improvement.
They change the conversation on the floor. Supervisors stop asking, who screwed up, and start asking, what condition made this outcome likely? Training is stabilized, scheduling is smoothed, supplier variation is addressed. One real special cause issue is handled firmly and doesn't need to be recycled as a warning tale. If this story feels uncomfortably familiar, that's the point. Deming's alternative to worker blame is not indulgence, it's discipline. First, stop demanding explanations for routine variation. When results fall within what the system reliably produces, yesterday's miss doesn't need a story, it needs a better system. Demanding explanations in these cases creates noise, fear, and motion without learning. Second, make the distinction between common causes and special causes explicit. Leaders and supervisors should know the rules. When evidence shows the system produced the result, leadership owns the fix. When evidence shows a true special cause, address it directly, clearly, and respectfully. Third, rethink the role of supervision. The job is not to motivate people to care more. The job is to make it possible for people to succeed through clear methods, adequate training, sensible workload, and timely feedback. Finally, treat pride of workmanship as a leadership responsibility. When barriers are removed instead of blame being assigned, problems surface sooner when they are smaller, safer, and far less expensive to fix. Deming didn't ask leaders to deny what they've seen. He asked them to look more deeply at it. Yes, some problems are caused by individuals, but far more are created by systems that quietly shape behavior, day after day, often without anyone intending harm. There is something profoundly hopeful in this. Systems can be redesigned, conditions can be improved. People who look disengaged often surprise us when the work finally makes sense and success is possible. The real waste is not believing too much in people. It's believing too little in what leadership can change. As Deming reminded us, the greatest waste in America is failure to use the abilities of people. When leaders shift from blame to understanding, organizations don't get softer. They get more humane, more capable, and more effective.